What's going on, guys? Kaiger here. Before we get into the video, I just want to tell you all that the new gacha came out on Global, and I want to talk to you about it. I've already made a post on this channel, but if you equip any piece of it, it automatically puts it all on. It is a 3-piece outfit. You cannot dye them at all. You cannot add any pieces. You cannot take anything off. You are stuck with exactly what it is. If you do change sex from male to female, female to male, it will change the outfit accordingly, but you can't like make the hair green. You can't do anything with it. Also, when you're summoning on the gacha itself, you need 5 pieces, as we'll see over here. If we go over here to event, gacha exchange, you need 5 letter memory fragments to get the letter of memories, which is the full outfit. If you're unable to get all 5, then you can exchange for costume recycle or more, depending on how many you have. So 1 gets 12, and yeah, 1 for 12 and 1 for 10, but 5 attempts at the 12. I do not recommend that. It is more expensive, but if you aren't a big spender, I would recommend skipping it. Let's get into the video. Alright, what's going on, guys? Kai here. Today we're talking about the class PvE tier list, as you'll see above. We already talked about PvP. The link is going to be down below, where I also show all the skill sets and combos for PvE and PvE. So this will be a bit of a quicker video. I'm just going to go over each one and why they're in their respective ranks. So starting at the top, we have Priest. As you see, it's the one I have equipped right here. If we come right here, you'll see when you use a Priest skill, you get a 10% HP shield and super armor, which means you cannot be knocked up or knocked back, which is very, very important. They have added a lot more CC into the game recently with more silences like Diablo or Rose. As well as obviously stuns like the Holy Fairies and Primrose, obviously, but they've added more ever since. That's where the 10% HP will be very, very important, and increase the duration of all buffs inflicted by Priest by 60%. That is primarily going to be the heal, heal over time of the heal, as well as the Star Blessing, giving attack and crit. We're talking about PvE. If it's group PvE, like Guild Boss, each quadrant, each area should have at least 2 priests, and then be rotating their Star Blessings so everyone can keep them up. If you are in a low population guild, just huddle up, especially if you have a Gypsophilia, the Holy Fairy, because that will allow you to keep up Star Blessing the entire time, at least on yourself. Now, talking about the build that you should be using, in PvE we're not so much worried about the heal, so we are using the Tenacity Ball over here, the Forbidden Thunder Zone, and the Star Blessing. Unless you have too many priest buffs, then you can swap this skill and then use the well, for PvE, if it's something single target or small zoning, Coldfire Bird is just fine. The boss does not have block. That is a PvP stat, but you are doing good damage on a 4-second cooldown. Now talking about the next class right here, which is Hawkeye. I don't. So priest in your team is number one. You need to have a priest. Having a priest in the group is number one. As far as damage, it's going to be 1A and 1B, and that'll be Hawkeye and the Lancer one that we'll talk about in a second. I do believe that Hawkeye marksman is better, but marginable. So as we see right here, each time we use a scatter shot, a sky shatter, which is whenever we use one of our skills from marksman, it gives us sky shatter. It will increase multi-arrow damage by 35%, and the next attack stacks up to 105%. Now what's important is your never miss, the one right here. If you don't have any, it'll immediately give you 2, which is 70%. So you need to have at least 3 skills to have a quick combo kill. You never miss, use any other marksman skill. In my opinion, the first skill, because it has a good range, you don't even have to hit, you just have to cast, and that'll give you your 3 stacks, allowing you to get that 105% extra damage on multi arrows. Then we also see, once you do that combo, then you use the actual Sky Shatter stacks that you have applied to yourself, which changes your basic attack. Let me see. Let me put on a bow. So, skill. No, that's fine. That's fine. So just use a skill. You see how it's green around my weapon. Then I click the basic attack. It does that spin trick. But if I do a regular basic, it's just a auto attack like that. Compared to that, which is the same range and AoE of the first skill right here, Vortex Arrow. So primarily if you were just doing PvE, you're just taking down a boss or whatnot, just use the full left side. If you are trying to progress and Path of Fire or something where you're being killed, you can swap out the Shattering Arrow for Shifting Bolt, allowing you to encircle and get distance on the boss. But if you have the damage, just do the full left side and you can just pump out the damage. Next, we'll talk about Dragon Fighter right here. It has jumped a lot, just based on Dragon Knight can do good damage, as we'll see. It's the next topic of discussion at the very top of you can even suggest that they should both be S. I just don't like having 2 of the same class in the same tier, because it feels like one needs to be better, at least in how I do my tier list. So Dragon Fighter, when a skill hits an enemy, gain Dragon Blood. And that's going to be important because several of our skills will hit multiple enemies, will give us a lot of Dragon Blood, especially in PvE, if there is multi-target PvE. Whenever you get 100% Dragon Blood, consume, replace Swift Strike with Dragon Shadow Spear. Just more skills than everybody else, especially if you're able to use that Wind Echo, you will be going through them, especially with Fighting Will. Just more cooldown, more cooldown, more cooldown. You are just pumping out more and more damage. Now, top of A tier, we have Dragon Knight right here. Energy gain from normal attacks plus 300%, which is very, very powerful, especially in PvE, because you'll be able to go through your motions very quickly. If we look at the skills themselves, they have 2 of the better PvE skills right here, Confusion and Dragon Blood transformation. They are both very, very good in PvE. But Flame Rush and Fallen Spear do a bunch of damage, but when we're comparing the two Lancer classes, I believe Fallen Spear does do a bunch of damage and will be the biggest single target, well, AoE, but generally single target nuke that you have, but you have to charge it up, and it has a long, long cooldown. If we're doing something that only lasts a few seconds, something like Time Trial or something like that, which is a very, very quick, and your cooldowns are instantly refreshed between rounds, then this is totally fine, and it'll probably be S tier damage. But in general, PvE content where you need to actually use your cooldowns, I think it lags slightly behind the S tiers. Now going on into Canon, we have armor. And some people say armor is definitely S tier. I think the fact that Netherfire, while it does do really good damage, it locking you into that ability, not letting you do anything else, is an issue. As well as the 35% crit rate damage is not working properly. If it was, I would have to think a lot harder about if it's S tier or not. It probably would move up somewhere between, probably right under Marksman if the passive itself was working properly. One of my favorite skills they have over here is Blasting Sparkle. You kind of want to use Flaming Cannon, but it's a long animation. It does give you more preparation. It does have a low cooldown. If you are in overload, it does do 30% more damage, which makes it better. But generally, I like to just go with grab Blazing Fire for some general extra damage. Now, last in the A tier, we have a really good AFK class, and that is Judge. Every fourth skill, the following skill 50% damage and enhance the effect. It also reduces the cooldown, which when an enhanced skill hits the target, so it has to hit someone, reduce the cooldown of the next two Judge skills released in the following 8 seconds by 2 seconds. Now, the most important thing here is when you're trying to do your rotation, you want to make sure that is Cold Firebird, because it has a 4-second cooldown naturally. So it's reduced by 2 seconds, so it's 2 seconds. You have your own cooldown, so it's probably going to be somewhere in the 1.4 to 1.6 second range. And as long as you hit that, and then you make sure you use it twice within that cooldown, it actually allows you to do it a third time, and now you're about to go into this enhanced skill yet again. You don't have to use Cold Firebird as your enhanced skill, but you want to make sure Cold Firebird right after your enhanced skill, which will allow you to get a third Cold Firebird, which any other spell of the Judge allows you to get back into it. You can totally AFK it, and you can do your auto battle right here and adjust the priority so that it'll use Cold Firebird more often, and it is a good AFK class. The biggest problem it has is generally PvP. So in PvE right here, it does just fine. You can even make the argument that with the cannon class above us, armor, having the issue with the passive, really good Judge player will probably be higher. The problem is EM Chain Strike just is not doing the damage when there's no break versus block with PvE. Then we go into Cannon Mechanician right here, which is a really good setup class, especially with the one we just talked about, Judge. This goes up a tier if you have a class that likes to stay in its form longer, like Marksman, or like Judge, where they want to stay in that class as long as possible. Even the Dragon Fighter wants to stay in it as long as possible. So Mechanician is a great secondary, especially if you have a priest on the PvE team, like Guild Boss, things like this. Mechanician will pump out the damage. Summoned units attack equal to your defense. So, everyone has some level of defense. Even if you are a pure damage dealer, you will have some defense, as well as there's fairies that give you a bunch of defense. And Mechanician is just going to do really good damage. You want to do second, third, and fourth with grabbing the Blasting Sparkle. Especially, it's going to do damage, and you can get preparation even though you're not armor, which will allow you to have some movement speed. It does the stops them from recovering, but that generally doesn't matter in PvE. But it does give you that 30% movement speed, which is important. Then, so Sword has some issues with PvE. We're talking about Gladiator right here. It can do very well in AoE PvE, but in single target like Guild Boss, things like this, you have to get really janky using abilities like Combo Hit and Crosscut so you can do damage to it. If you're AFK, having something like Uppercut is generally fine because it heals you. If you're in Guild Boss, it'll shorten the distance so you don't spend time getting knocked back, walking back to the boss. Generally fine. But in AoE, PvE, Moonslash and Punitive Chop do a lot of work. We also have our passive that turns our HP into attack, which allows us to focus on our white numbers to do more damage. Then we go into Windchaser. Windchaser has some good PvE AoE. Windchaser is a really cool class because of Shifting Bolt. Each of the 3 other skills change the way Shifting Bolt works, and the issue here is that one of your class exclusives, Strength of Nature, doesn't help you a bunch in PvE because healing generally shouldn't be an issue. But if you're punching really up on a Path of Fire stage, this can do well. It heals you. You can run away. You can set up, especially on some bosses like Frozen Fairy. It can do really well, but it just does not pump out the damage that Marksman does. Last but not least, in its own tier down below, is the Berserker. You can make the argument someone who is a very good Berserker could be a B tier, with it dealing more damage on lower HP units. This can be very good in the latter half of Guild Boss, things like this that have a bunch of HP, because they'll be under 50% more often. The issue here is you're kind of stuck in Berserker as long as possible. Something like Mechanician could help you a lot, but then you have to build it back up. Not to mention the ability Flash, which resets on a kill, is halved for killing monsters. So you're only getting half of that. So, let's say 14 seconds, so 7 seconds off, but you got to wait 7 more seconds and you're down a skill. That its whole thing is killing for a reset, which is really, really cool. And I do like doing that, but you're kind of stuck waiting around. But you do have minus defense plus attack, which can be more damage, which is why it could be B. But you're hurting yourself because it's minus defense plus attack. So if your secondary class is that mechanician gives your defense to your units as attack. So you're already doing that. So you're losing mechanician to gain berserker. It puts you in a weird spot. Let me know down below what you guys think about this tier list. I am trying to grow as a channel. Later today I'm going to have a 2024 channel update, and if you want to help me grow, please put down below any comment about this video, anything, ask any questions, and that kind of engagement, leaving a like on the video really helps me out. Till next time, guys.